सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। समस्त जनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। बोलिए श्री शंकराचार्य भगवान की जय। हरि ओम। So we are beginning this talk at 21, very interesting time, and we are in chapter 14 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Gunatraya Vibhaga Yogaha. Gunatraya, the three gunas, of the three gunas, Vibhaga Yogaha. We are in verse 10. Sorry. We are in verse, verse 9. Sattvam sukhe sanjayati rajah karmani bharata jnanamavritya tu tamaha pramade sanjayatyuta. So the actions of the gunas in our inner world are briefly indicated. Sattva guna attaches to happiness. Sattva guna prefers happiness. Sukhe sanjayati. Rajaha karmani bharata. Rajo guna attaches us to karma, to action, O Bharata. While tamo guna, shrouding knowledge. What does tamo guna do? It covers knowledge and it attaches to heedlessness. Pramade. Pramada means a lack of attention to what needs to be done by us. Pramade sanjayati uta. Sattva guna attaches itself to happiness. An individual who has experienced the thrills of the creative moments in life, a scientist, an artist, a poet, or for that matter any independent thinker, will not ever like to come down to the passionate world of rajas or into the dark sorrows of tamas. Sattva makes us attached to the inward happiness arising from a life fully lived. Rajas to action. If on the other hand, one is under the influence of rajas, it makes one naturally passionate with hundreds of thirsty desires and deep attachments, and in the course of their fulfillment, one is made to sweat and toil in the fields of endless activities. Tamas, shrouding knowledge, attaches one to heedlessness. When tamas comes to play, by its very nature it veils right judgment, and in the resultant indiscrimination, we get attached to wrong comprehensions. We become heedless to the calls of the higher in us. When do the gunas produce the effects described above? So when do they bear their effect? Rajas tamascha vibhuya sattvam bhavati bharata. Rajas sattvam tamaschaiva tamas sattvam rajas tatha. So rajas, tamas and sattva are like three waves. If you stand on the ocean coastline and you watch the wave, one big wave will rise and it will become the trough, and then again it will continue to rise up and then keep coming. That is how the waves, they keep merging. They rise to two waves joined together, they rise up, and the third wave is overpowered. This is how sattva, rajas and tamas are working in our lives. Rajas tamascha abhibhuya sattvam bhavati. O Bharata, Arjuna, rajas and tamas will be conquered and sattva will remain. Rajas Sattvam Tamas Chaiva. Then Rajas will conquer Sattva and Tamas will conquer Rajas. And Tamas will conquer Sattvam and Rajas will conquer Tamas. So in this way, the play of the three gunas keep continuing. At this level of our discussion, any intelligent student should wonder whether these three gunas produce their effects or act at different times, each by turn. If they act all at one time, do they act in perfect concord or in mutual discord? Naturally, the Lord in his divine song anticipates this doubt and answers it in this stanza. He explains how these gunas act at different times. Sattva rises. The stanza clearly shows that at any given moment, a human personality, if analyzed, can be found to work under the influence of one predominating guna, wherein the other two gunas are not totally absent but are only of a secondary importance. When we say that one is under the influence of sattva, it means that rajas and tamas in him are at that given moment not quite prominent to contribute enough of their particular nature. When sattva predominates over rajas and tamas, it produces in that heart at that time its own nature of happiness and knowledge. When rajas predominates over sattva and tamas, it expresses its own nature of passions and desires, attachments and actions. When tamas predominates over sattva, it produces its own effects of shrouding knowledge and making the personality heedless of its nobler duties. But how are we to know when a particular guna is predominating over the other gunas? सर्वद्वारेषु देहेऽस्मिन् प्रकाश उपजायते ज्ञानं यदा तदा विद्यात् विवृद्धं सत्त्वमित्युत. How do we know sattva guna is prevailing? Sarvadvareshu deha asmin. The dwara in the body are the sense organs of eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin, all the pores of the skin. Sarvadvareshu dehesmin prakasha. The light of consciousness is shining through the body. Upajayate. Jnanam yada tada vidyat. Know that is the time when jnana or sattva guna is shining. Vivruddham. Very, very clearly, sattva guna is predominant at that time. Sattvam iti uta. Gurudev says, when through every gate sense in this body the light of intelligence shines, the apertures of the physical structure through which the perceived world of objects enters us are the windows of knowledge, the sense organs. Through these holes, the light of awareness goes out, as it were, to illumine the various objects of the world. The knowledge in me pouring out of through the eyes becomes a power of vision and illumines for me all forms and colors of the world. The same eternal awareness through the ears, which cannot illumine form, brings within my comprehension the world of sound around me. So too the divine light of cognition beaming through the tongue illuminates the taste. All the different sense organs are illuminated when that knowledge of light of consciousness is shining through them. The next verse, 12th verse, the characteristic marks that indicate the predominance of rajas are now described in the following verse. Lobha pravrittirarambha karmanamasamasprha rajasyetani jayante vivruddhe bharatarshabha. Lobha is greed. Pravrittihi arambha, starting up projects. I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to achieve that. And something new is constantly being started. It is called the shiny object syndrome. Not wanting to start one thing, go through patiently, go through the whole process and then complete it. But starting and dropping, starting and dropping. Pravrittihi arambha, starting an undertaking. Karmanam ashamaha, unrest. Karmanam ashamaha means restlessness, a kind of an agitation while doing actions. Spriha, ashama spriha is like longing, craving, wanting to get attached to something, going after something. Rajasi etani jayanti. Rajasi From the quality of rajas, all these qualities spring up. Etani jayante, vivruddhe bharatharshava. These are the distinct marks of rajas. What are they? Lobha is greed, pravritti arambha, going on starting something new, karmanam ashamaspruha, not being very patient in action, very restless while doing action. Spruha is craving, wanting to hold on to something, wanting to depend on something, wanting to grab something all the time. The term unrest is oscillation of mind, which is defined by Sri Shankaracharya as giving vent to joy, attachment, etc. Harsha Vishada. Harsha means excitement, and attachment means sorrow. Like expressing whatever we feel at that moment, everywhere, all around us, and spreading our state of mind to others is Spriha. The contagion of rajas, the psychological being in us, gets extremely persecuted by its own restlessness, which gets expressed in its endless plans, exhausting actions, agonizing desires, painful longings, maddening greed, and oppressive restlessness. When such an individual works in society, his sorrows do not rest with himself, they spread like contagion to many thousands around him. Similarly, when people are rajasic around us, we will get disturbed by their very presence because the mind is so highly shaking. The mind is so vibrant that it shakes the whole atmosphere and we also get affected by that. Unless we really know how to take care of ourselves and be very steady in that moment. 13th verse. What is tamas? When tamas predominates, what exactly are the symptoms? अप्रकाशो प्रवृत्तिश्च प्रमादो मोह एव च तमस्येतानि जायन्ते विवृद्धे कुरु नन्दन. अप्रकाशः, a dullness of state of mind. Pravrittishcha, apravrittishcha, like not wanting to do anything at all, just lying down. Pramadaha, a lack of attention in what we need to do, our responsibilities, our duties, what we have really paid attention to that we need to pursue. We don't pay attention to that. Our sadhana also, if I know that certain things are going to help me in my spiritual progress, not doing all of that is tamas. Pramadaha, moha is delusion. Belief, strong belief that I am the body is moha, the quality of tamas. Tamasi etani jayante. From tamas, the quality of tamas, these things emerge, these experiences emerge. Vivruddhe, they are all very clearly emerging. Kuru Nandana, the joy of the Kuru dynasty is Arjuna. He's telling Arjuna. Dullness, inertness, heedlessness, and delusion, when these symptoms are recognized by an individual in himself, according to the Gita, the seeker can take it that he is suffering from tamas. Dullness, aprakashaha, is that condition of the intellect where it is incapable of arriving at any decision, a state when a sort of drowsiness veils the potentialities of one's intelligence and makes it impossible for one to discriminate between the right and the wrong. This condition is experienced every day by every one of us as sleep conquers our nature at night. So when the sleep is extending to the daytime from 6:30 to 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, sometimes even up to 12 o'clock, which means that the state of tamas which has conquered us in the time of sleep is continuing to exist. It has not shaken itself off. The natural effect on the personality of a man who is living such a life is that as an individual, he becomes heedless to the higher calls within himself. Nor can one be, in fact, a Ravana-like destructive criminal. Even to be bad, it needs a good amount of enthusiasm and an endless spirit of activity, which is rajas. He not only becomes incapable of responding to the good or the bad in him, but also slowly sinks into delusions. He miscalculates the world around him, misinterprets his own possibilities, and always making mistakes in determining his relationship with the world around. Whenever we are taking drugs, alcohol, and all addictive substances, all substance abuse, which will lead the mind to a state of tamas. Earlier in the Gita, we had exhaustively dealt with this topic of reincarnation. We had indicated that death in the total divorce of the subtle body from the physical structure. Therefore, death is a destiny of the body in me, not a tragedy of my ever existing personality. I, as my subtle body, move out of the present physical structure when I have exhausted my purpose with the present body. The subtle body is constituted of my mind and intellect, which is nothing but just a bundle of thoughts. Even when I am living in this body, my thoughts determine my movements, both physical and subtle. Therefore, the Hindu philosophers are logical when they indicate that after death, one would still be pursuing the resultant of one's thoughts, which one had in life while acting through the body. There is a very beautiful story in the Yoga Vasishta. It is a story between of this a king and queen called, the king is called Padma and the queen is called Leela. And this queen is very beautiful. The king is very attached to the queen. The queen also loves the king. But the queen is very devoted to goddess Saraswati. And she has conversations with goddess Saraswati. This king Padma, she will be wondering, he is so much, he wants to aggrandize kingdoms that he loses his cool. He doesn't know when an enemy can be conquered and when an enemy is really powerful. He did not know that he made a mistake by when the enemy destroyed one of his people who was traveling by boat in the enemy territory. The enemy destroyed that person, and the king got angry and went and fought with the enemy. He thought that the enemy will surrender because he was a great emperor, this Padma. But that king did not surrender. He in fact fought, and then King Padma died. In that battle, the queen was not able to take this at all. It's a very beautiful story. It's a story of love also, but at the same time, there's a lot of very spiritual conversation in this. This Queen Leela will be asking the king, why do you want to keep conquering kingdoms like this? Why don't you just be peaceful and calm and enjoy? You've got so much already. What do you need to conquer more for? And the king will be very agitated and he will want to go ahead with his conquest. And so, after the king dies, the queen will not allow the body to be cremated, and she will pray to goddess Saraswati. She told the people in the court not to cremate the body but just preserve it. And the body is, because she could not believe that the king died. That's one thing. And then she goes to goddess Saraswati and they have a discussion about what was this vasana that was driving him into the battle. And goddess Saraswati gives the queen a vision of what this king is actually doing. You want to know what he is doing right now? He is dead. But he is in the other world. He is fighting a big army there. One big army has arranged around him and he is continuing to fight the army. Nothing of it has changed now because the subtle body is only what leaves, not the gross body. And then the queen realizes that she has been living with this king for so many lifetimes through animals, through insects, through mosquitoes, through birds, and through many, many human beings, through many great rishis also, they have landed. And she discovered that life is eternal and life is immortal. And then when she goes back, she gets the body buried and she's crowned the queen of Kali Yuga. Leela is the queen of Kali Yuga. Earlier in the Gita, we had exhaustively dealt with this topic of reincarnation. The subtle body is constituted of a mind and intellect, which is nothing but a bundle of thoughts. Even while I am living in this body, my thoughts determine my movements, both physical and subtle. Therefore, the Hindu philosophers are logical when they indicate that after death, one would still be pursuing the resultant of one's thoughts, which one had in life while acting through the body. When I am transferred from my present station of office to another area, I can call at my bank and expect to get from them not the total amount of money I had deposited in the past, but only the balance that stands to my credit. So too, the resultant of the positive and negative thoughts entertained, actions done, motives and intentions encouraged, should determine the type and texture of the thoughts in us at the moment of our leaving the physical structure. That the quality of our thoughts is influenced by the type of guna that influences our inner makeup is a truth that is already known. Therefore, it is logical that this predominant guna, cultivated by each one of us through the life of activities and thoughts, should determine the direction and the range of the disembodied in its flight to the beyond after its release from the body. These possibilities are explained in the next section in this section of the Gita. Then what happens? 14th verse. Yada sattve pravruddhetu pralayam yati deha bhrita tadotama vidam lokan amalan pratipadyate. Yada, when sattve pravadhetu, when the person is predominantly in sattva guna and they leave the body, pralayam yati deha bhrut, the one who sustains the body, they drop the body. Tada uttama vidam lokan. Where does that subtle body go? It goes to very, very beautiful worlds. Uttama vidam lokan, amalan, very pure worlds where there is a lot of calmness. The frequency is very gentle. It is very pleasant and it is very charming and very beautiful. To those worlds, the subtle body goes. Amalan pratipadyate. If you think this is very ancient, try reading Dr. Michael Newton and the books of Dr. Michael Newton and Dr. Very famous Brian Weiss. Their books on reincarnation, which is nothing but Bhagavad Gita is a philosophy which talks about, in general terms, what happens. They have given real life examples of people who have near death experiences, people who have, in states of trance, they have experienced the other world. Yada satve pravruddhetu pralayam yati dehabhrit tada uttamavidam lokana amalan pratipadyate. They go to very beautiful and very beautiful worlds and very pure worlds. For example, Krishna now gives us an idea to the direction in which the mental equipment of a dead one will move after death. This can be to a large extent scientifically determined by close and intelligent observation of his mental behavior even during life. A doctor cannot all of a sudden, one fine morning, start thinking of and solving a subtle architectural problem, nor can an engineer overnight feel inspired to write out a prescription for cancer. The doctor has trained his mind for thinking on medicines and disease, and the engineer has trained himself to solve the problems of constructive destruction. At any given moment, the mind of a doctor will be thinking of medicines alone in conformity with his education and his yatha karma yatha shrutam. As we have done our actions and as we have heard, as we have studied, these types of thoughts his mind is trained to entertain. Thus, there is a continuity of thought life in this embodiment. This year's thoughts have a continuity with our last year's thoughts. This month's thoughts are determined by the last month's thoughts. This week's thoughts are an extension of last week's thoughts. Today's thoughts are continued tomorrow. And every moment is an extension of the previous moment's thoughts. If thus there is a continuous development and growth observable in our thought life, in its unbroken continuity connecting the past, the present, and the future into one unbroken flow, then there is no reason why at the time of death this continuity should suddenly end. Death is only another experience. It will certainly color the thoughts that follow it, but then all experiences have been coloring all our past thoughts, and our future thoughts are being colored by our present experiences. Therefore, the type of thoughts entertained during our lifetime should determine the type of thoughts we will entertain soon after our departure from this physical structure. It's about the future lives is dependent on what gunas that we entertain in our mind now, and those gunas produce the thoughts that we have. The basic belief is there, the belief is very strong, and from the beliefs thoughts keep springing up, thousands and thousands of thoughts. So you cannot control the thoughts, you cannot remove the thoughts, you cannot work on altering the thoughts, except maybe temporarily you can do something to remove the thoughts. But the only way of controlling the thoughts is to remove the belief altogether. If there is a wrong belief, remove that wrong belief and place the right belief that will be helpful. Not right or wrong, a belief that is helpful for our progress or not helpful for our progress. The 15th verse, Rajasi pralayam gatva karma sangishu jayate tatha praleenastamasi modhayonishu jayate. The Rajas and Tamas are dealt with in just one verse. Meeting death in Rajas, when suppose a person is very agitated as he dies, they are attached to actions. They cannot stop acting. Then, if a person is, that is why it is important, the retirement is given for people at the age of 58 or 60, and after retirement, we have to learn to practice moving out of rajas when we are acting in the workaday world, and move into Sattva Guna and use the time until our death to make the mind calm, not get it more agitated by watching television serials of murder. Even news serials and news reels are also very rajasic these days. They have no sattvic content. They are not stating situations as it happened, but always feeding with a voice and opinion of their own. So all that will fall under rajas, and if it is too much filled with lies, then it comes under tamas also. Having been born as rational beings, how many of us behave with discrimination? A few in society even look up to the cattle and declare that they have a nobler life and happier existence. That is to say, to a minority of bipeds, the life of the quadrupeds is of higher evolution. And then, when such an idea is entertained in the mind of an individual, the life of the cattle is no devolution to him, but is only an acquisition of something which he is thirsting for. To a teetotaler, a drinking booth is nothing but a den of sorrow and death. But to the drunkard, the same is haven of joy and harbor of happiness. To the tamasic, to be born in the animal kingdom is a wonderful chance to exhaust their appetites and to express fully their nature. Thus, philosophically viewed, we have to accept without any reservation that the tamasic must mentally find a complete fulfillment in an animal embodiment. So they are born here, there to fulfill their own elected purpose. So we have only three purposes in life. We all ask for purpose. What is the purpose of life? One purpose is to live a life of, we can choose anything we want. One purpose is to live a life of sattva, and then we progress on the right path. The other purpose is to live a life of rajas, a life of agitation. And when we die like that, we are born in agitated births again until we get to come back to sattva, or until we drop into tamas. Once we are in a tamasic frame of mind, we leave the body, we will be born in tamasic wombs, which can be even animals, sloth bears, pythons, all those beings are all the time they are lying down, crocodiles. They don't keep moving out much. There are many, many other animals also. Pigs also are, they don't move much. They are like, they can be very comfortably in the pigsty. Then buffaloes are there. Like you can see buffaloes for a long time. They will become almost one with the scenery in the water body that they are living. It will be a dirty water body. The buffalo itself will be full of slush and dirt, but it will just be motionlessly sitting in that. So these are the possibilities for people who are living a life of tamas, means a life of ignorance, not trying to know about what is the truth, or not doing any sadhana, or not even living an active life in the world. 16th verse. Here follows a summary of what has been taught in the preceding few verses. Karmanas sukrutasyahuhu satvikam nirmalam phalam rajasastu phalam dukkham ajnanam tamasah phalam. The fruit of good action is sattvic. When I do good actions, the result is sattva guna. Then the fruit of rajas is pain. When I am doing actions that are bringing in rajoguna, then it causes a lot of pain. And the fruit of tamas is ignorance. I don't know. I am always in a stuporific state where I am going on sleeping. I am not aware of what's going on around me. I don't know why I am born. I don't know what I should do. My eyes are drooping. Even when we talk about tamas, see how the eyes fold. The qualities are so powerful. We cannot really escape them. They are all spinning around us like pendulums. The moment we think about them, we are caught in their grip. Rajasastu phalam dukkham, ajnanam tamasah phalam. The result of tamas is ajnana or ignorance. The fruit of rajas is pain. And whenever we experience pain, we should know the background actions have been rajasic. Whenever we are experiencing a lot of sleep and a kind of a depressive state of mind, we should know that we have thought those kind of thoughts, we have done those kind of actions, we have entertained those kinds of feelings to have this kind of a result. Whenever we feel bright, the result is sattva guna. Of what arises from the gunas. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam rajaso lobha eva cha pramada moho tamasaha bhavato jnanam eva cha. So from these gunas, sattva gunat sanjayate jnanam, thought arises, knowledge of something, bright knowledge, understanding arises from sattva guna. Rajaso lobha evacha, greed arises from rajoguna. These are the smaller qualities that originate or grow from the big quality of rajas. And then tamasaha bhavato ajnanam evacha. Tamasaha bhavataha ajnanam evacha. From tamas, what quality? Tamas is basically a depressive emotion. It is a depressive quality. Like there is a rising quality, and there is a vritti, and there is a pratyaya. Even in the ocean also, the wave rises and then it goes down and then it comes up again. So the vritti is the manifested wave, sattva guna, and rajoguna is just on the surface. Pratyaya is like going beneath the surface of consciousness and spending long periods of time in that lack of awareness. That is called tamas. Bhavataha, and that is a state of ajnana. When we do not rise up, we do not make an effort to know something, that knowledge will not come to us. We have to make that effort to know. Heedless, from sattva arises wisdom, greed from rajas, heedlessness, delusion, and ignorance from tamas. When anything is not properly understood, it is but natural that we will misunderstand it. This misunderstanding of the world outside compels us to expect joys which are impossible to arise from the miserable state of our imperfections. Can there be even a single cup of sweet water in the entire expanse of the saline waters of the ocean? In a world of change and pain, how can there be constant joy or even one instance of perfect happiness? Yet he who is under the deluding effects of tamas in himself miscalculates the world and expects from it these experiences which are impossible, and in the delusion curses the world for its imperfections. So what happens to the people who are predominantly in sattva guna, who are predominantly in rajoguna, predominantly tamoguna, after they drop the body? Urdhvam gachanti satvasthaha madhye tishtanti rajasaha jaganya guna vrittistha adho gachanti tamasaha. Urdhvam gachanti satvastha. The people who are all established in sattva guna, they move higher and higher in life. Madhye tishtanti rajasaha. Higher means the world of the gods, where everything, the surroundings are very beautiful. They are very conducive to our fulfillment of all our desires. There is not much of action that we need to do to achieve something. Everything that we want is instantly given to us in a very beautiful manner. A very beautiful world around us, a world that we would love to live in, is the world of sattva guna. Rajoguna madhye tishtanti rajasaha. Where will these people be born? In the world of humans, where it is not so easy. If you want something, you can get it, but you have to strive very hard, work very hard, think very hard, and go through a lot of trouble and suffering to achieve it. That's rajoguna. Jaganya gunavrittisthaha adhogachanti tamasaha. Abiding in the function of the lowest guna, tamasa guna, the people go downwards. Downwards means in the order of evolution, they are born in wombs where there is no possibility of knowledge of the self. The person cannot strive for self-realization. Today, in the modern day science of mind, they talk so much about beliefs that serve us and beliefs that don't serve us. These are sattva guna, rajoguna, and tamoguna are such beliefs. Sattva guna is a belief that serves us in what we need to do. Rajoguna is a belief that can serve us if we apply for good actions and good outcomes. And tamoguna is a belief that will not serve us because it'll lead us to further sorrow, depression, and grief, misunderstanding, boredom in life, laziness, inertia, unable to do anything, make things happen. To describe the path of liberation and explain moksha gained from the right judgment of the world outside, the Lord says, 19th verse, Nanyam gunebhyah kartaram yada drashtanu pashyati gunebhyascha param vetti madbhavam sodhi gacchati na anyaha gunebhyah kartaram. When the seer beholds, when the person who's seeing sees that there's nothing else other than the gunas and knows him who is higher than the gunas, like knows that seer, the consciousness, which is the one that is witness of the gunas, what happens to that person? He attains my being. He becomes one with that Ishvara. Madbhavam saha adhigacchati. When the seer beholds, this art of disentangling ourselves from our thought process within is a very art of meditation. A meditator who is capable of doing so will behold, experience subjectively the state of pure knowledge, uncontaminated by a dance of thoughts. It is called seeing, not in the sense of one is seeing a table or a chair. God cannot be seen. He is not an object of our perception or feeling or thought. He is the subject that perceives through us and feels in us and thinks with us. But here the word behold is used only to indicate that the subjective experience shall be so total, so complete and so convincing as when we have actually seen an object, that afterwards there can be no more any speculations about such an experience. Having seen a thing, no man can ever have any doubt regarding the appearance of the thing that he has seen. Like when you are going on talking about chocolate or thinking about chocolate, it is only in the thought. But really, when we see the chocolate, we are able to experience the presence of that chocolate. It is no longer an imagination. So that kind of a seeing. So the gunas are only doing everything in this. Whatever you see that's happening in the world, whether it is a central government politics or state government politics or local politics or house politics or sibling politics, sibling rivalries, or the office politics, whatever you may see, everything is happening because of the presence of gunas within us and within the other individuals around us also. The gunas are actually guna guneshu vartante iti matva na shajjate. Prakruter guna sammudhaha sajjante guna karmasu tana kritsna vido mandana kritsna vit navichadayet. So if we have to be steady, we have to know that there is a person who is beyond the gunas, who is witnessing the function of the gunas. We have to realize that person, then we attain the bhava of Ishvara. 20th verse. Gunanetanatit dehi deha samudbhavan janma mrityu jara dukkhaihi vimuktomrutamashnuте. So what happens? Having crossed the three gunas out of which the body is evolved, the Lord proceeds to teach us how one can attain this great goal. Guna netan atitya. So sattva guna is there, rajo guna is there, tamo guna is there. Transcend these three gunas, atitya, trina, dehi, the one who is seeing through this eyes, dehi, deha samudbhavana. The gunas are born out of this body. Three gunas which are from of which this body is evolved. The body is born from these three gunas. Deha samudbhavana. What happens to that person? Janma. He will not take another birth. Once you know the truth, you will not come back into this world. Once you know the mess that is causing all this birth, we will not come back again to be born in this world. Janma. We will transcend Janma. If we transcend Janma, we will not have future deaths also. Mrityu. Then we will not have future old age. This present old age, death, we have to go through it because it is our prarabdha. It has already started and it will end. Like how at the time of our birth into this world, it is like a fan switched off. The fan switches off, it will keep running for some time. In the same way, the moment we are born and the umbilical cord is cut, it is like the power supply is switched off. But the existing power supply itself is so much that it takes us to 90 years and 100 years. And so this body will automatically drop at that time when the power supply is completely over. I mean, the residual power supply is completely exhausted. We are talking about the future, coming into contact with power and being born. Janma, Mrityu, Jara. Jara is old age. Dukkaihi, all the sorrows of existence. Dukkaihi, Vimuktaha, Amritam Ashrute. Vimuktaha, the person becomes free and he attains that immortal state of being where there is no birth and death. The embodied being is freed from birth, death, decay, and pain. As we said earlier, the heat and smoke are the qualities of the fire in the oven, and as long as we are near the oven, we suffer from these hardships. Matter changes forever, and these changes have been systemized into definite stages. They are commonly common to all bodies everywhere. They are birth, growth, decay, disease, death. These 5 stages are common to all. Each one is a packet of pain. Birth is painful, growth is agonizing, decay is disturbing, disease is tyrannical, and death is terrible indeed. But all these sorrows are only the sorrows of matter and not of consciousness that illumines them. One who has realized himself to be the awareness transcends all these sorrows. The sun may illumine floods, famine, war, pestilence, funerals, marriages, and a million varieties of happenings, yet none of them is in the sun. Similarly, the consciousness in us illumines the various changes in our matter envelopments, but they do not appertain to the spirit. Therefore, he who has realized himself to be the spirit goes beyond all these struggles. Now, Arjuna gets an occasion for asking these questions regarding the nature and behavior of such a God man. Like in the second chapter, Arjuna asked Krishna the questions about a man of buddhi, steady intellect, Sthita Prajna. Now he is asking about the one who has become a Gunatita. So, what is the question? And we will go into the answers tomorrow, but we will see the question today. Arjuna Uvacha Kairlingaistrin Gunanetan Atito Bhavati Prabho Kimacharah Katham Chaitan Katham Chaitan Strin Gunanati Vartate. Arjuna asks, Kair Lingaihi Trin Gunanetan Atitaha Bhavati. By what indications do I understand a person has crossed over these 3 gunas? Prabho, O Lord. Kim Acharaha. What is their conduct in life? Katam cha etan trin gunanati vartate. What is their conduct and how do they cross these 3 gunas? Arjuna is asking a very interesting question. The questions are, what are the marks by which a man who has gone beyond the influences of these 3 gunas can be recognized? What would be, in that state of perfection, his relationship with the world outside, and how is his behavior among us who are all still under the persecutions of the 3 gunas? And lastly, how does such a man of perfection conquer his inner confusions and entanglements and attain spiritual glory? The Lord proceeds to answer all these questions in the following stanzas. First, he illuminates the characteristic marks by which we can recognize one who has crossed the 3 gunas. We will continue tomorrow. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah, Sarve Santu Niramayah, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya, Tamasorma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. बोलिए श्री सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय. हर नमः पार्वती पतये. हर हर महादेवा. हरि ओम. ओम सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु. Finish this.